That was it. It was Fran said that, yeah. And that's exactly what I was told. At that time, I was actually about 37 years old, and I come down with the most recent of a long series of running injuries, and a sports medicine doctor said, "What do you expect? You know, of course you're going to get hurt. This is dangerous." Then I went down to the Copper Canyons, and I met Caballo, and I got to watch the theTarahumara run. And what they were doing was so different than what I had done and what most other people I'd ever seen were doing when they run. If you guys ever got to a marathon...
Will you explain a little bit more? Because there's some people here that don't even know who they are.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. If you ever stand at a marathon and watch people coming towards you, you see 30,000 people doing 30,000 different things. You see 30,000 different expressions of discomfort on their face. This is not like Louis who's having a good time running around. These are people who are like, why are you here? Why are you punishing yourselves? Then I got an opportunity to go down to the Copper Canyons, which are this sort of vast spider webbing network of gorges in Mexico, where the Rarámuri have lived essentially in isolation their entire lives, basically since the 1600s. You know, when the conquistadors arrived to conquer Mexico, you had basically two options. You can fight back like the Mayans and the Aztecs, or you could haul ass like the Tarahumara. There are very few Mayans and Aztecs around today, so obviously the better strategy was to retreat. And there they remain to this day. The traditional Tarahumara are deep in the canyons, in places that are very hard to access, and in ever-dwindling numbers, but to a certain extent, to this day, still living this tradition based upon the ability to run super long distances with incredible ease and agility deep into old age. So there I was going down there with my preconception that running's bad for you. It's going to beat the crap out of... Oh, friend, if I ever start using bad language, remind me, okay? Have I said that wrong already? Yeah, do.
He's from Philly.
Yeah. We bring up our kids tough down there. So I can get this conception that running's bad for me, and that it's going to be uncomfortable, that it's essentially the punishment you have for eating pie the day before, and that you got to knock it off by the time you're 30. Then I get down there, and one of the first stories when I met Caballo was that he had seen a guy in his, 80s or so, cruising across the mountains.
95.
95 years old, okay? Basically half as old as America. Running across the canyons. And then I got an opportunity to watch. There was a. Well, I don't want to tell you the whole story because it'll ramble on and on. But the thing that impressed me the most was I got to watch a group of Tarahumara children bust out of the schoolhouse in the morning. And instead of sort of standing around shooting the breeze during the recess, these kids were running. They played this running game. And these kids basically knocked out a pretty fast trail 10K in under an hour. That was their recess. And it was kids of all age from 5 to 7 to 10, 13 charging up and down this trail and laughing, having a good time. The kids who were tired rested. The kids who felt good kept going. But it was a communal activity. It was fun and it was fast. And to me, it was unlike any kind of running I'd ever seen before. You know, I'm used to that sense of sort of muscular pulling along. And I'm watching these kids just gliding horizontally. I remember at the time thinking, it's like watching those cartoons with the flames going along the fuse. It's like, that's how they moved. And then I got a chance, okay. I keep sort of warring between people who know. Have a lot of people here read the book already or not?
Yes.
Not all of it.
Okay, so not that many then. Okay, cool. Then I'll backtrack a little bit. You know, one thing you learn about reclusive groups is that the best way to stay reclusive is by not answering questions by big strangers who show up poking around your business. So the reception I got from the Rarámuri was basically the same reception I got when I was trying to date in bars when I was 20, which was just this sort of stony face and sort of eyes that sort of look over your head as if you're not there. Hopefully you won't be there by the time you look back again. When I first sat down with Arnulfo Quimade, one of the great Tarahumara runners, we sat knee to knee for about 4 hours, and he said absolutely nothing for 4 hours until the sun was basically sinking below the canyons. But one thing I was told by the school teacher in this Rarámuri school was that if I did find this guy named Micah True, he could probably tell me what I was hoping to find out, which was essentially that. How can I do what these guys are doing? At the time, when I started to write this book, a guy who was a much better writer than I am said, make sure you write this book from the beginning, not from the end. Make sure that you give the sense of these revelations as they come along, because it's easy to look back now and think all this stuff is obvious, but at the time I was really fumbling in the dark, because every step of the way, everything I was told was the exact opposite of what very smart, experienced people had told me was the truth. I've been told by experts that running is bad for you, yet these guys seem to be able to do it. I was told you need orthotics and structured, heavy structured shoes. These guys wear either nothing or thin sandals. I was told you're going to break down in your old age if you run a lot. These guys run 150 miles at a time, and these guys cranking out ultra marathons at age 95 on canyons. The other thing I was told too is that it is human nature to be possessive and competitive, and the capitalistic system is part of human nature. That's why we're the greatest country on earth, because we basically kick everyone's ass. That we're tougher and stronger. That is human nature. Yet there are humans who are living in this community who are not greedy and are not acquisitive and do not fight and do not beat their spouses and do not abuse their kids, who do have no cancer, no heart disease, no high blood pressure, no incidences of cholesterol, and almost incidental levels of clinical depression. So if that's human nature, how come these humans seem to be immune from all this stuff? And that was something that was not what I expected to find. I expected to find a bunch of super jocks. And what I started to find was super jocks who are also living, or have the potential to live, an enlightened existence. And it very gradually dawned on me, much later than it should have, that this is not a coincidence. That maybe there's cause and effect. Maybe you take an animal and you stick it in the zoo, and suddenly that animal becomes grouchy and antisocial and sexually dysfunctional and sluggish and lethargic and essentially, American. Maybe if that animal is given an opportunity to function the way it is designed and has spent millions of years evolving to function, then maybe that animal will be healthy and kind and gentle and peaceful and not rapacious and aggressive. So this led me on another quest entirely. But where it all started to spiral around was to come to this idea that maybe running is not this like foreign, weird, punishing activity that we seem to look at it as. Maybe it's just the most simple and natural thing on earth. Maybe it's exactly what it's like when Louie and Ella run. They just go because it feels good. It feels weightless. If you do it properly, running can feel like you're just sort of horizontal skydiving. You're just falling forward through space instead of being this rigorous muscular activity we do. If that's true, if running is something natural to us, then we can take it further back and look for evidence in prehistory. And this is where, hopefully, your bullshit alert is up. Because anytime someone starts to cite prehistory, they're usually about to tell you something that they want you to believe is true, but they got no evidence to prove it. Okay, so be warned.